And so, as the moon bathed the palace in silver light, Scheherazade began once more to weave her magic. The king's stern eyes softened, for her words carried not only wonder, but wisdom. "Tonight, my lord," as she said, "I shall tell you of a man whose purse was heavy, but whose heart was empty, until a wandering dervish placed in his hands a gift unlike any other. It is a tale of greed and of giving, of a merchant who learned that gold alone cannot warm the soul." She leaned closer, her voice a soft tide. "Listen well, and perhaps this story will not only soften the heart of a king, but yours as well. Now, close your eyes, and follow me into the tale of the blunt merchant and the clever dervish. In the heart of a sun-drenched kingdom, where marble palaces gleamed under skies of sapphire, there lived a king whose life hung by the thinnest of threads. No healer could ease his suffering, until, one fateful day, a stranger arrived. He was not an ordinary man. His eyes held the calm of 1,000 secrets, and his hands, the skill of ages past. The people whispered his name, Dubin, the physician who could cure without blade or potion. With a single touch, he promised to mend the king's failing body. But in the shadows of the court, envy stirred. A poisonous plot was already taking root. In the bustling heart of an ancient city, where the cries of merchants tangled with the scent of saffron and roasted lamb, there lived a merchant named Rashid. He was known not for his kindness or wit, but for his blunt tongue and hasty temper. Rashid had grown rich trading spices and silks, yet his fortune had made him arrogant. He spoke without thought, cutting with words sharper than a sword. People tolerated him for the wealth he brought, but in the tea houses, they whispered, a gold in his purse, stones in his heart. One sweltering afternoon, as Rashid sat in his shop counting coins, a weary figure approached. Clad in simple robes, barefoot, his beard streaked with grey, he was a wandering dervish. "Peace upon you, merchant," the man greeted softly, bowing his head. "I have travelled far and seek but a cup of water, perhaps a morsel of bread." Rashid glanced up, his eyes narrowing. "Water is at the well. Bread, buy it yourself. Do I look like a charity?" The dervish smiled faintly, as if not surprised. "Perhaps not, but I thought you might wish to earn a blessing." Rashid scoffed, shoving his coins into a jar. "Blessings don't fill one's purse." The dervish's eyes glimmered, not with anger, but with a strange patience. "Sometimes," he said, "they fill it more than gold ever could." Rashid waved him away. Yet, in that moment, he had unknowingly invited a twist of fate into his life. The dervish walked away, disappearing into the crowd, but his presence lingered in Rashid's mind like the faint scent of incense. For days, business flowed as usual. Rashid barked at his assistants, argued with customers over a single coin, and never offered a kind word. Yet in the quiet moments between trades, he found himself recalling the dervish's calm gaze. One evening, as he locked up his shop, Rashid heard a commotion near the city gates. Curiosity drew him closer. There, surrounded by a curious crowd, stood the same dervish. Before him on the ground lay a small, ornate chest, its brass fittings gleaming in the torchlight. "This chest," the dervish proclaimed, "it contains something greater than gold. I will give it freely to one soul in this city, but only if their heart is worthy." The crowd murmured, some laughing at the old man's words. Rashid pushed his way forward, suspicion burning in his chest. "Greater than gold?" he scoffed. Then why give it away? The dervish's eyes met his. Because only one who knows the value of such a gift will benefit from it. But you, merchant, seem certain that blessings are worthless. The crowd chuckled. Rashid felt his pride sting. I'll take your chest, old man, he said, and prove your words empty. The dervish simply nodded, lifting the chest and placing it into Rashid's hands. The chest was light, far too light to contain treasure. Back in his shop, Rashid pried it open, expecting to find trinkets or perhaps nothing at all. Instead, inside lay a single scroll bound with red silk. Unrolling it, he found delicate calligraphy written in shimmering ink. The words were strange, almost like a riddle. To gain what you seek, give what you hold. The river swells when it lets go of rain. The hand that opens never goes empty. Rashid scowled. Nonsense, he muttered. Riddles won't buy spices. He tossed the scroll aside, but as he tried to close the chest, he noticed something odd. The inside seemed deeper than it should be. Experimentally, he dropped a copper coin into it. The coin vanished without a sound. Frowning, he tried again, this time with a silver piece. Gone. Heart quickening, Rashid tested it with a small gold coin. It, too, vanished. Then, astonishment. A faint clink echoed from the chest, and when he reached inside, his fingers closed around, not one gold coin, but two. By the heavens, he whispered. The chest had doubled his offering. Suddenly, the dervish's words seemed less foolish. Greed flared like a spark in dry grass. Rashid hurriedly emptied half his coin jars into the chest, watching them vanish into its mysterious depths. When he reached in moments later, the coins had doubled. His hands trembled as he imagined the fortune he could amass. By morning, he had tripled his wealth. Rashid closed his shop and sent his assistants away, too afraid someone might discover his secret. Day after day, he fed the chest, and each time it rewarded him. Yet as the weeks passed, Rashid noticed something strange. His dreams grew restless, haunted by the dervish's calm gaze and the echo of his words. He also found himself oddly reluctant to spend the new gold. The more he had, the more he feared losing it. The joy he expected never came, only a gnawing hunger for more. One night, as the moon hung low over the city, Rashid awoke to a faint sound, the chest's lid creaking open on its own. From within, a whisper slithered out. I give, give, give. He slammed the lid shut, heart pounding. The next morning, he told himself it had been a dream. But the whispers returned each night, growing louder. Rashid's days became a blur of counting and hoarding. The market's vibrant calls faded from his life. Friends stopped visiting. Even the smell of fresh bread or the sound of music in the square brought him no pleasure. Only the chest mattered. Yet the whispers inside it deepened, no longer soft, they were urgent, commanding. Give, ear what you hold, open, or your hand. Rashid tried to silence them with more gold, thinking perhaps they demanded payment. But each time he fed the chest, the whispers only grew. One evening, desperate for peace, he hurled a handful of jewels inside. The chest returned them doubled, glittering in the lamplight, but the voice spoke again, clear and low, and not this. Give what you will miss. A cold shiver ran through him. That night, he dreamt of the dervish, standing beside a flowing river. The old man held out his hand, letting water slip through his fingers. "The river swells when it lets go of rain," he murmured. Rashid awoke sweating, his heart uneasy. He could not understand why the chest, a gift beyond any dream, felt more like a trap. One morning, a ragged boy wandered into Rashid's shop. "Sir," he said timidly, "and my mother is sick. We have no bread, no medicine. Could you spare a coin?" Rashid's hand went instinctively to his purse, but then tightened. "Work, boy," he snapped. "Nothing is free." The boy's eyes, large and desperate, flicked to the glittering coins on Rashid's counter. "Please, even a little." Rashid shoved him out. But that night, as the chest's whispers rose, the voice shifted, becoming almost like the boy's plea, "Give, or what you will miss." The next day, an old woman knocked on his door, offering a hand-woven shawl in exchange for a bit of food. Rashid laughed. "This is worth less than the thread it's made of." She left silently. That night, the whispers grew loud enough to wake him. The chest rattled, and when he opened it, the red silk scroll lay on top again, glowing faintly. The words had changed. "The river dries when it keeps the rain. The hand that closes will soon be empty." Rashid began to fear the chest. Yet greed chained him to it. He convinced himself the voices were tricks of a guilty mind. But his dreams turned darker, visions of the chest swelling like a beast, swallowing his shop, his home, even the streets outside. He would wake gasping, clutching his gold as if it were a shield. Then, one evening, the dervish returned. Rashid found him leaning against the shop's door frame, his staff in hand. "You have grown rich," the dervish observed calmly. "Yet your face is thinner, your eyes more hollow. Tell me, merchant, what did you find in the chest?" Rashid's lips tightened. "A gift. One I earned." The dervish's brow lifted. "Earned? Or taken without understanding its price?" Rashid scoffed. "The price is nothing. The chest gives and gives." The dervish stepped inside, his gaze falling on the overflowing coin jars. "Then why," he asked softly, "do you look like a man drowning in gold?" Rashid had no answer. The dervish placed his staff on the floor and knelt beside the chest. "May I open it?" he asked. Rashid hesitated, then nodded. The old man lifted the lid. The air in the shop seemed to change, thick, heavy. The whispers poured out, swirling like wind. The dervish closed his eyes, listening. Then he looked at Rashid. "It calls for something you have not given." Rashid frowned. "It has all the gold I own." "Gold," the dervish said, "is the least of treasures. The chest was made by hands that knew the hunger of the heart. It does not multiply coins, it multiplies what is placed inside with the spirit it was given. Give grudgingly, and it will return greed. Give freely, and it will return joy." Rashid's stomach knotted. "Joy doesn't pay debts." The dervish sighed. "And yet, without it, all the gold in the world feels like sand in your hands." With that, he rose, leaving Rashid alone with the chest's low, rhythmic murmur. Days passed, and Rashid avoided the chest as much as possible, though he could feel its presence in the room like a silent watcher. But one evening, a terrible sandstorm struck the city. The wind howled through the streets, and roofs tore free like paper. In the chaos, Rashid heard pounding on his door. Opening it, he found the same boy from before, his face streaked with dust. "Sir, please. My sister, she's trapped. Our home has collapsed." Rashid looked past him at the storm, at the danger outside. He hesitated. The boy's eyes brimmed with tears. "If you help us, I will owe you my life." Rashid's mind raced. There was no profit in this. Yet something, perhaps the echo of the dervish's voice, pushed him forward. He grabbed a lantern and followed the boy into the roaring wind. They reached a crumbled house, where a faint cry came from under the wreckage. Rashid dropped to his knees, tearing at the debris with raw hands. Each stone felt heavier than the last, but at last they freed a small girl, coughing and shaking. Rashid carried her through the storm to safety, his muscles burning. He gave them food from his own kitchen, wrapped them in blankets. For the first time in years, he saw gratitude in another's eyes directed at him, not for his gold, but for his help. That night, exhausted, he wandered into the shop and, without thinking, placed the last gold coin from his purse into the chest, not out of greed, but with a strange, warm feeling in his chest. The coin vanished. When he reached inside, he did not find more gold. Instead, his fingers closed around the same coin, but it shone brighter, warmer, as if lit from within. Confused, Rashid stared at the glowing coin. When he held it, the shop seemed lighter, the air fresher. He slept that night without dreams, for the first time in weeks. The next morning, his assistant, who had not visited in months, stopped by. "Master, I don't know why, but I felt I should see you," the young man said. "I had the strangest dream that you called for me." Rashid's heart stirred. Slowly, he began to experiment, placing small gifts in the chest, a loaf of bread for a widow, a blanket for a beggar, coins for an apprentice whose tools had been stolen. Each time, the chest returned something, not always gold, but sometimes fine cloth, rare spices, or simply a feeling of lightness in his soul. Confused, Rashid stared at the glowing coin. When he held it, the shop seemed lighter, the air fresher. He slept that night without dreams, for the first time in weeks. The next morning, his assistant, who had not visited in months, stopped by. "Master, I don't know why, but I felt I should see you," the young man said. "I had the strangest dream that you called for me." Rashid's heart stirred. Slowly, he began to experiment, placing small gifts in the chest, a loaf of bread for a widow, a blanket for a beggar, coins for an apprentice whose tools had been stolen. Each time, the chest returned something, not always gold, but sometimes fine cloth, rare spices, or simply a feeling of lightness in his soul. As weeks passed, Rashid noticed the market treating him differently. People smiled when they saw him. Strangers greeted him warmly. The whispers from the chest no longer sounded like demands. They were soft, almost like a song. Yet one question haunted him. What if he gave something truly precious, something that would truly hurt to part with? That test came sooner than he expected. One afternoon, a caravan arrived, bringing with it a merchant from the far north who carried the most flawless pearl Rashid had ever seen. Rashid bought it instantly, imagining the fortune it would fetch. But that night, he sat before the chest, the pearl in his hand, and felt the weight of the choice pressing on him. The pearl gleamed under the lamplight, pure as moonlight on still water. Rashid's fingers tightened around it. Giving this away would be madness. It was worth enough to buy another shop. Yet the whispers from the chest rose gently. A give, or what you will miss. His heart pounded. With a deep breath, Rashid placed the pearl inside. The lid closed silently. Minutes passed. Then, from the chest, he drew forth not a pearl, but a sealed letter written in a flowing, unfamiliar hand. Opening it, he read, "Ye come to the edge of the desert at dawn. Your gift will be returned 100-fold." Curiosity overcame caution. At dawn, Rashid rode out of the city, the sand cool beneath the morning light. At the edge of the desert, he found a small caravan waiting. Its leader, a dignified woman in silks of blue and silver, stepped forward. "Are you the one who gave the pearl?" she asked. Rashid nodded. She smiled. "It was my mother's, stolen years ago. I have searched for it across kingdoms. To see it again is to have my heart restored." She gestured, and her servants brought forth a chest far larger than Rashid's, filled with treasures, gold, jewels, silks. "Take this," she said, "for your honesty and generosity." Rashid's eyes widened, but for the first time, the gold was not what made his heart race. It was the joy in her eyes. He returned to the city not as a man obsessed, but as a man transformed. Rashid reopened his shop, but now his business was different. He still traded spices and silks, but he also kept aside a portion of everything for those in need. The chest remained in his shop, but it no longer doubled his gold. It returned something far more valuable: unexpected kindness, opportunities, friendships, and the quiet peace that comes with knowing one's worth is not measured in coins. One evening, as the sun dipped low, the dervish appeared once more. "You have learned," he said simply. Rashid bowed his head. "I have learned that a closed hand is an empty hand, and that gold given freely returns in ways no chest can hold." The dervish smiled. "The chest will remain with you, but know this, it was never magic. It only showed you the truth you refused to see." Rashid blinked. "Then, how did it work?" The dervish chuckled. "Your own heart worked it. The chest reflected what you placed inside, not in coins, but in kind." The dervish turned to leave, but Rashid stopped him. "Wait. Let me give you something before you go." He reached into his shop and brought out a finely woven cloak, warm and embroidered with gold thread. The dervish accepted it with a nod. "Not for me," he said, "but for the next traveler you meet who has nothing." And then, like mist in the morning sun, he was gone. Years passed. Rashid grew older, but his shop thrived, not only in profit but in goodwill. The chest remained in the corner, often holding more than it seemed it should, but now it was simply part of the shop's story. Children came to hear the tale of their magic chest and how it changed a merchant's life. Rashid told them all the same thing: the magic is not in the chest, it is in giving without counting. One winter night, as snow dusted the city's rooftops, Rashid sat alone by the fire. He thought of the dervish and wondered if he would ever see him again. Just then, he heard a soft knock. Opening the door, he found a young traveler, shivering. Without a word, Rashid brought him inside, gave him food and a bed. In the morning, the traveler was gone, but in his place lay the glowing coin, the first gift the chest had ever returned. Rashid held it and smiled. Rashid died many years later, remembered not for his wealth, but for his generosity. The chest passed to his apprentices, who kept the tradition alive. In the markets, people still tell his story, of the blunt merchant who became the city's kindest man, and the clever dervish who taught him that true treasure is not gold, but the blessings that come when a hand and a heart remain open. And somewhere beyond the city walls, a lone dervish walks the roads, seeking another soul in need of such a lesson.